You know what's really interesting? So if somebody, young horses, you can buy a 4-year-old, and at 4 years old, that horse is very quiet, he's very easy, and then suddenly at 5 years old, I get a telephone call. This horse is so difficult. He's rearing, he's bucking, he's pushing me on the floor. Okay, don't pay me the money for my lesson. Turn it in the field overnight, and then call me back tomorrow. Then they say, oh, he's really quiet now. Yeah, because a lot of people are unable to put their horses out, or they're worried that they're too expensive, or just remember, horses don't know what they're worth. We know what they're worth. They don't. So I've had my horses all my life. So when people see that we put Allegro in the field or Utopia in the field, or like Nick Tuck, I have 3 of them. They all go out together, and sometimes I have to think, it's like the Grand National. They're all going, I think, walk away, don't look, in 20 minutes they'll be fine. It's normal for us, and I've said this before, but the thing that made me laugh after the Olympics was, one of the questions from a journalist was, did we win a gold medal because we turned our horses out in the field? We trained them to win a gold medal. But were they better because they go out, because they're really relaxed, because they move around all the time? Of course, that's very much part of good management. So it is very important, certainly for me, that they have that sort of lifestyle. So it depends on the horse. Yes, some of them live out all the time. And also, young horses, if you really if you want your horse to last for the rest of its life, if it's a difficult horse, then you presume that you have to ride it a lot to get it quiet, to get it to behave. But then, that really, good for a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old to be ridden for an hour because you need to make it quiet? No. But if you have it living in the field, like our 4- and 5-year-olds, because they're young, they live out. So we only have to ride them for 20 minutes because they're so flat. When they come down, they've got a belly full of grass and they're quite tired, and we just give them 20 minutes. So they're ridden a little bit, but really, they don't really train hard, at that age. So, if you can do it, it's not, I'm not trying to be different or revolutionary or, this is what you must do, but that works for us. And in England, we are able to do that because we have, good paddocks, and it's normal for people to turn their horses out, and you don't go to event riders and say, why do you turn your horses out? I mean, they do. I mean, in New Zealand, horses going around the Olympics, they live out. They don't have them living in. They don't think it's healthy at all. So when you've travelled all the way around the world and you've seen all these things, then you make your own system, and that works for me.
Let us see a question over here. No? Question over here. Yeah.
Well, that's too difficult.
The lady is asking how you're actually going to choose your young horses and what sort of the basic way of training you will start out with the young horses.
Today, or you mean what I do?
Yeah, how would you choose a young horse? What is your qualities you're looking for?
Basic, simple qualities. I mean, if you have, you have to have an eye for what you like. Obviously, that's important. You can't just listen to what I say and then you buy that because it might not suit you. I know when I look at a horse, if I want that horse, I like the personality first of all. That's the first thing that you can see. And I mean, we're buying horses that are 2.5 years old, so you're not riding them. So then you're slightly you will not know, obviously, what the temperament is until you can ride the horse. But I just want to see, we know now how important the walk is. In a test, you have to have a good walk. You cannot have a horse that's a lateral walker, or, you need to start with a good overtrack. In the trot that you need a horse. If the horse shows activity in the hind legs in the trot, then, and they are active bending hocks and they're underneath, then you know that you have the possibilities later for an active piaffe and passage. That's how I always look at the trot, to think what that would look like in the Grand Prix arena. and also the ability to obviously just like lengthen the stride. And the canter, I think, again, is one of the most important paces that has to be true 3B. And again, you always need to think of the canter when you look at the canter, how the horse also moves the shoulder, because you have to think about how a horse will do a canter pirouette, how a horse will do a flying change. So, for instance, last year we come here to ride at the European Championship. 60 people are riding the Grand Prix, or should be. And, so what makes the gold medal or the top 5 different to the 55 others? So, everybody can do the movements, but it's who can do the movements with more expression. And obviously, from the rider's point of view, you have to be able to take a risk, so that is about a horse with a good temperament. And you have to have a horse that shows, a more expressive flying change or a more expressive pirouette. So you have to be able to look at a young horse and imagine how that will use itself in a pirouette or how it will express itself in a flying change. If the horse is cantering like this with a small front leg, then you presume that the flying change is not going to be up in the shoulder to make a 9 or a 10 flying change. It could be a 7 flying change. Or the pirouette that shows like a lot of expression because the horse can lift its shoulders up when it canters, that can make your 9 or 10 pirouette. So obviously it is a little bit of a lottery, because a lot of it is on wish and hope and all the things. We all have horses that you imagine are going to be stars, and that's how you should train, really. Though I mean, you have to train like that, because if you don't think that about your horse, then you're probably not going to make it. That's what I think. Anyone else?
She asking again, what about the basic training? What would you put into your daily work?
For the young horses?
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, our young horses live out, so they don't need a lot of work. I have a fantastic girl who is really small and light on young horses, and so she rides the 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds, and Charlotte and I maybe sit on them once or twice a week just if we want to teach them something. But basically, the training is teaching the horse to stretch, teaching the horse to set the bit, and teaching the horse to move away from your leg. So quite simple things for 4 years old and 5 years old. We don't have to, and my aim and Charlotte's aim is Grand Prix. So it's actually quite nice if that's your aim, because I don't have to worry about young horse classes, world breeding championships. It is a different world, I think, to training towards Grand Prix. It's quite different, and it involves a different way of riding and keeping your horse. So we don't have to worry too much about the young horses. It's just basic, simple work like that.
Yep.
It's very striking as a prize in some ways that the English horses just stand quietly, whereas sort of the other horses quite nervous. Do you train that at home, or is it
Yeah, you can't train that. You certainly can't train it in England because there's no one at the shows. So, and now we do prize giving on foot. So I mean, it's impossible. But that's an interesting question, and I say this because of what will happen this year. So I have a woman who always used to moan about the way I train my horses. We don't do that. I mean, she's been after me for years. So at the Olympics, when Vallegra and Utopia stood still, like they always have done when they were 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, they were born like that. So she wrote me a letter after the Olympics, and she said, I want to congratulate you on your training because your horses stood still at the Olympics. So I turned the letter up and I wrote on the back, thank you very much, you can have this back. My horses stood still because they were born like that. My horse this year will never stand still, so you'll be able to tell me my training is wrong again. So that's what I said to her. And those horses were born with those temperaments. I mean, Vallegra and Utopia just stood still. They always been so relaxed. I think about Dances with Wolves. I mean, he wouldn't stand still if there were 2 people on the side of the arena. So then everyone's going to say to me, you didn't train your horse to stand still. It should be, it should be relaxed. What can I do? two stood still and this one doesn't. So, I mean, of course I try and, we're always trying to like make them relax, but you don't have an opportunity very often to get, how do you tell a horse? I think this is the most amazing thing. How do you tell a horse when, if you knew what was behind the main stadium in London, it was an arena that is the size of this room. You can't hear anything. Nobody's there. Just you, your groom, your trainer, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, wife, whatever. And it's peaceful and it's lovely. Then there's a chute, and you ride down the chute, and the horse is still very relaxed and it's quiet, and you ride down the chute and it opens like this, and there's 25,000 people with Union Jacks. Hey, come on, Utopia, Allegro, Carl, Charlotte, it's Lord. And you're like, how do you tell a horse to like, don't worry. Who made up a dressage test? The first thing you have to do is stand still. That's quite, for a horse to come in and have 45 seconds, because they were running short of time, so there was not even one round of the arena. It was in, ding ding, the horse doesn't get one round, and the crowds, obviously, it's all very well saying keep quiet. It's the Olympics. They couldn't help it. And, it just has to show what an amazing temperament a dressage horse has to have. So I'm going to give that question to the dressage horse, not me, because that was certainly nothing to do with us that they were that well behaved.
We had another one further down. Yeah.
How long do you hack the horses?
We have an hour hack. We're very lucky where we live in that I live a little bit near some hills, so and we have a perfect hack. But we have where I live, we're quite lucky because we have grass verges beside the road. So hacking is very dangerous, I have to say. Like taking your horses out with people driving nowadays is like, it's a difficult thing, and we don't go down main roads, we live in the countryside, so the roads are quite quiet, but they also have grass verges, so it's safe to get off the road, but they just go hacking for an hour. Hill work, when the grass is good, then we can counter on the hills as well in the summer, so hacking twice a week, and then Sundays they just all go in the field. Yeah.
Yep.
If you have a horse that is very sensitive to sounds, what do you do for it then to get it to relax?
Yeah, that's one of the most difficult things, horses that react to noises. We try, with horses that are like that, as you know, we have to travel a lot from England if we want to compete. So in fact I'm at Charlotte here, down in Spain, and we try and do shows that, I don't do a lot of big shows, I try and do a lot of shows where I can educate horses, so I would always take the young horses to Spain, so that they just, going to a show is if you're a one horse owner and you go to a show and your horse doesn't go very well and it's nervous and you don't do a very good test, the chances are you probably finish your test, you get off, you're upset, you shout at your husband, you put the horse home and you go home and you're disappointed. That's not educating your horse. You need to take your horses to shows where you can just ride until you get what you want, and so that the horse always finishes on a relaxed note before you take it home again. And for us, going to shows like Spain, or like we're going to Barcelona in a couple of weeks, and I'm taking one of the more difficult horses, and we've got another horse on the lorry to train it there, so that's the best we can do really, is just get them used to the noises and the sounds, and just keep showing them until they become chilled out. You don't really have, I don't think there's a lot of magic answers to a lot of those problems. It's just perseverance. And you know what? It takes you 6 years to get to Grand Prix, and then it gets 6 years to get better. Look at it like that. So if you get 60% when you start Grand Prix and the horse is 10 years old, that doesn't mean you don't have a good horse. Maybe when he's 16, he'll get 80%, and then you've got a great horse. So it does. You getting there is one thing, and then that you can improve it for the next few years.
Super. Tusind tak. Thank you very much, Carl. And thank you.